Ahoy, mateys! This one's for all my oncers out there. With Once Upon a Time going on its mid-season hiatus, I decided to make this awesome little Captain Hook pillow in honor of our fallen hero. So if you want to learn how to make your own, just stick around. First, let's gather our supplies. You're going to need some polyfill stuffing, a quarter of a yard of white or peach fleece, maroon, brown, black, gray, and white felt, your templates, which will be found in the description box below, and then a fabric marker, some fabric glue, white thread, some scissors. I've got a few kinds of pairs here, but you only need one, hand sewing pins, and a hand sewing needle, and as an option, a sewing machine. Going to do is print out your templates and just cut out the face. Just round off the corners as you'll see there, and then we'll move on to the next step. Easy peasy, right? Alright, so go grab your white or peach fleece, those pins, and a pair of scissors, because now we're going to use our face template that we just cut out and use it to cut out two pieces that will serve as the pillow itself. You're going to want to lay your fleece out and place the template on top, making sure to leave some space on all sides, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch for seam allowance, for when we sew these two pieces together to make the pillow. Once you're happy with the positioning, take those pins and pin it in place, and then cut away. When you're done with the first piece, just remove the pins and the template, pin your first piece down on the remaining fleece fabric, and cut out your second piece. Grab that trusty template again, because it's time to cut out Hook's hair, and it's pretty much as simple as it sounds. Just take some scissors and cut that hair out. I'm just going to finish that up, and then we will continue onward. Alrighty, so here I have my hair template piece ready to go. Taking our sheet of brown felt, we're going to lay the template on top, pin it in place, and cut it out, just like before. I'm just going to finish that up really quick, and I will be right back. And bam! After removing all the pins in the template, Hook's hair is looking pretty good. Eyebrow time! So just take your face template again and cut out the two eyebrows. And you can watch me do that here. Sweet, now that we've got our two eyebrow pieces, just grab some more brown felt or some scrap pieces from the hair that we just cut out and pin the two eyebrows down and cut around them so you end up with two lovely little eyebrows. Comes after his eyebrows, you ask? Well, his eyeballs, of course. For this, you're just going to need to cut out one of the eyeballs from your template, and then taking some black felt, pin the template in place, and cut out two pieces, because Hook has two eyeballs, obviously. Now Now, taking that same eyeball template you just cut out, or you can cut out the other one if you so choose, we're going to cut out the smaller circle for his pupil using the template with some white felt. Now time to move on to Hook's clothes. First we'll be cutting out the pattern pieces for his coat, which will actually be 2 separate pieces. So to start, just cut along the line that joins that jacket with his beard. And just keep on cutting, just like you see me doing here. And then once you've got that cut out, we're going to cut along the 2 curved lines where the jacket meets his undershirt, or the part that holds his little collar there. And so you're going to end up with 3 separate pieces. 2 coat pieces or jacket pieces, whatever you want to call it, and then his undershirt. We're just going to take the undershirt and put it on the side, and then take our 2 jacket pieces, pin them down on some black felt, and cut around them just like you've been doing with all the other pieces. And I'm going to finish that up, and I'll be right back. Moving on to the color, take your 2 jacket or coat template pieces and cut out those 2 triangular shaped pieces that will serve as the collar for his jacket. And then, same as before, just take some more black felt, pin them down, and cut accordingly. And just go ahead and watch me do that, and I will return for the next step. Remember that undershirt piece that we put aside earlier? Well, now's the time to grab it, because now we're going to cut out Hook's shirt using some maroon felt. Now we do have to make one little minor cut to the template. Holding it right side up, we're going to cut out that little triangle bit at the top, because that's actually the neckline for his shirt. Which, I do have to say, just in case, I was thinking about it, and this might not actually be his shirt, it might actually be his vest, but potato potato, let's not get hung up on the technicalities, kids. Just as before, just take that template then, once you're done making that adjustment, pin it down to the maroon felt and cut away. Now we're going to take that t-shirt template again and cut out that Y looking piece, because that will actually serve as the trim on his shirt slash vest thing. For this piece, we're going to be using some black felt, so I'm just going to finish cutting that up, pin it down as we've been doing so far, and cut it out, and then we shall continue onward and forward. Okie dokie, so for the last piece for his face, we're going to cut out the template for his beard. Start with the easy part, just cut out around the outline of the beard. Just like you see me doing here, cutting slowly but carefully, because we want this to be nice and neat for when we cut out the felt. So once you're done with that, you're going to actually fold the template in half and cut out that funky little shape on the inside there that forms the goatee part, I guess you could say, and do that slowly and carefully. And once we're done with that, we will open it up and you'll have your template ready to go. And then, just like all the other pieces you've been doing so far, take some pins, pin it in place on some brown felt this time because it is hair, and then carefully cut it out as you see me doing here. And then we will continue to the last few pieces, and then we'll start assembling. Yay! Finally, the last part of cutting. This is super easy, guys, so just hang on in there. Cut out those 2 hook pieces, pin the bottom piece to some black felt and the hook to some gray felt, and cut accordingly. Also, don't forget to cut out that little tiny circle for the buttons on his shirt and vest. I actually found that I didn't even need to use the template just because the buttons are so small, but I just kept it aside as a reminder that I had to cut out 11 of those little tiny circles from the gray felt for his little shirt slash vest. And I'm just gonna do that, and we'll continue to the assembly part. Now you're going to go ahead and grab one of those fleece pieces that we cut out earlier, and we're going to start assembling his face. So grab your hair first because that'll help you gauge where to place everything else, and it'll also help you remember to leave that seam allowance all around the edge for when we sew or if you decide to glue the pillow together. And so I'm just going to finish up putting all the pieces in place, and once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to take some glue and glue all of the pieces down. You're all done gluing, you should have something that looks a little like this guy. So to keep everything in place while the glue dries, I went ahead and pinned everything down, and now I'm just taking my second piece of fleece fabric and putting it on top of the face and pinning it in place. That way we can take it over to my sewing machine and sew it up. Awesome sauce! So now we're just going to sew around the edges of the pillow along our seam allowance. And I'll actually be sewing only along the sides following the red lines you see here, making sure to leave about half of the bottom of the pillow open so we can turn it inside out at the end. I'm just going to use a marker to mark off these areas where I need to sew, and then take it to my sewing machine using a straight stitch all the way around, making sure to start and end with a back stitch. As an alternative, you could also use glue, or if you don't want to use glue, you can also hand sew this if you don't have a sewing machine. So I'm just going to finish that, and we'll move on to the next part. Now that we've finished sewing up those areas that needed to be sewn, we're just going to flip the pillow inside out carefully, making sure not to rip anything off because the glue is still kind of wet, at least on my pillow. And now we're just going to take some stuffing and stuff it up. Alrighty, to finish this guy off, we're going to take our hand sewing needle threaded with some white thread and sew this pillow shut. First things first though, we're going to grab a couple of pins and fold the seam allowance inward and pin that in place. And then